Live from the Malibu Studios in Los Angeles, California, this is Politcal Vendetta with your host, Vijay Viswani.
Politcal Vendetta, where scholarly passions stimulate policy actions. And for all our listeners today, happy St. Patrick's Day. Last time on our show, we had discussed education policy with an emphasis on early education. We talked about how society, instead of looking at it from birth onwards, look at it structurally and technically, and they've broken it down into parts. Pre-K, K through 12, college, undergrad, postgrad. But as John Dewey once said, education is not a preparation for life, but it is life itself. Furthermore, we talked about our finances and how the amount of spending money might not only be the problem in education, but rather its allocation may be the main problem. If you look at California, we spend more money in education than anywhere else, and yet we are ranked 49 out of 50. The purpose of education is to provide a foundation for young and aspiring scholars, and so that they have the necessary tools and knowledge to grow and be competent in their given fields. Furthermore, a scholar is someone who is a specialist in a given field. It is someone who has studied the subject matter and or has experience there. For good public policy to pass, obtaining information is important, and delivering it is, of course, important. But understanding it is the most important. However, today's political affiliates in the media and in office have lost that sight of researching and studying the subject before going out there and commenting, legislating, and debating. Having knowledge on the subject, awareness of its surroundings, issues, and experience in the field are needed for a scholar. And it is in these individuals that can help enact policy changes. Today we have a young scholar who is aspiring to make that step and transition from the academic world into the political arena. And she will speak to us on the subject of women in public policy. But full discretion, Politcal Vendetta now does not endorse or reject any candidate, may they be liberal or Republican, up or down, right or left, wherever they are. We don't endorse them, but rather we welcome their viewpoint and appreciate their commitment to help society. Women today are becoming more established in powerful positions, and their societal success is growing exponentially. Although there isn't major oppositions to women in public policy, there are still those who believe that women are too emotional and have a soft side to legislate and govern. Others feel that the current political arena of men, still dominating in terms of numbers, not only have 100 of failed legislations to show for, but they say that women might be out of touch as well. No matter a person's viewpoint on this, for society to thrive, you need good public policy, and you need input from all types of scholars, whether they might be male or female. And so with so much diversity in our society, gender, sexual orientation, race, age, and more, this can add clarity to what society really needs and wants. And this in of itself can be a driving force into understanding the public to create good public policy. In politics, there has been a change of tides from women in office and having influence to many more women coming on board. However, some would say that this needed change or equality has not been so easy, and the current circumstances are yet to be perfected. But on that note, I'd like to transition and welcome our special guest, Barbi Appelquist. Barbi is a longtime resident of Santa Monica, a young scholar, a wife, and a parent to a 6-year-old girl. Professionally, she has had extensive experience in legal analysis, business development, and community organizing. She has worked as a technological consultant with PricewaterhouseCoopers and a corporate lawyer with Glaser, Wheel, and Shapiro, and as a nonprofit community development lawyer with Public Counsel and of counsel with the entertainment law firm Cohen and Gardner. She is also a 2-time cancer survivor and a vocal supporter of the Affordable Care Act. In her spare time, Barbi likes to train for half marathons while raising funds for various cancer-related charities. And currently she serves as president of the Women in Public Policy group. But most of all, on February 13th of this year, she filed paperwork to become a candidate for California State Senate of the 26th District. Barbi, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Vijay, for having me.
So, Barbi, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you got your schooling, how you got your lovely name.
Sure. As you mentioned, I have legal background, as well as a business background. But just sort of give you an idea as to where I've been in my life, my grandparents were farmers. So I always grew up with this idea of hard work, of what it takes to sort of work the soil, how it matters what effort you put into the day and what you expect to get back in return. My father was in the military. He served for 20 years. My grandfather served in World War II. My uncle served in the Navy. So having this dedication to public service has also always been a part of who I am and how I identify myself. I've lived in different countries. I've lived in different states and different cities. I was born in Georgia. I lived there for 3 months. And then I moved to Missouri, where I lived for 7 years. And then I moved to a little area outside of D.C. and then to Germany. I lived in Germany during the fall of the Berlin Wall, which was a very exciting time, especially in light of the current crisis happening in Ukraine and Crimea right now. And then I moved to San Diego, where I went to high school at the public schools in Chula Vista and then up in Solana Beach, Del Mar. Decided to go to college in New York at Barnard College, an all-women's college, where I served on our student council there. And then I worked as a consultant, as you mentioned, and then continued to law school at UC Hastings, one of our fine public schools here in California. And after that, practiced law for a while, became a mom, and now here I am at Pepperdine finishing up my master's in public policy.
That's lovely.
Thank you. A little bit of a background of sort of where I'm from.
And so you seem to have a good background in law, entertainment, and public policy. But for our listeners, tell us a fun fact about you.
Sure. Let's see here. A fun fact about me.
Or fun facts.
Just generally. So I'm often asked about my name, where I came from. A lot of people think I was named after the Barbie doll. But truth be told, I was named after a country western singer. And my middle name is Sue. And that's just sort of a bit of the Southern charm. My mother's middle name is Sue. And, as a child, she was, brought up, her name is Sharon. So they would call her Susie or Susu. And my name was Barbie Sue. So that's how I was known around among my family members in Missouri and the Midwest.
That's lovely. And how did you get your ambition and passion to enter the realm of politics? I mean, specifically women in politics.
Well, I think that also goes back to my name in some ways, because I was raised with this name Barbie and sort of the public perception of who Barbie is or what Barbie represents. I was always living sort of side by side with this view of what it means to be a girl or what it means to be a woman. For the longest time, I wanted to be named Victoria instead, because that, to me, reminded me of Queen Victoria, right?
Someone very regal. Bit like a Victoria, I think.
Thank you. My cousin's name is also Victoria, but she goes by Gail. Okay. But it's sort of having this idea of what it means to be a girl and what a girl's expected to do was very frustrating, because I thought if I want to run for office, if I want to run a business, it shouldn't matter if I'm a girl or a boy. What should matter is what ideas I have and what hard work I'm able to do, and sort of the results that can come from my hard work. And in many ways, that drove my passion and my desire to go to an all-women's college, and from there to go work in technology as a technology consultant, and then from there to go work in the legal sphere.
That's great. I mean, on the subject of women in public policy, personally, which female, political or not, are you most inspired by, and why?
That's a good question. I think there are so many women, both in the real world as well as in our imaginary worlds that we can look up to. As a child, I really looked up to Annie, right, or Little Orphan Annie, and she's this sort of character with a lot of ambition. She's very assertive. She's got a lot of spunk, a lot of passion, but she'd also been through so much. And as a young child, I remember watching the Little Orphan Annie movie and just being very inspired by everything that she had been through. And I'm excited to see the new Annie movie come out. My daughter, she's excited to see it, and I think her peers are also excited to see her. But in sort of the real world, Helen Keller has always been someone that I've looked up to. She had faced a lot of adversity in her life, and she was an incredibly brilliant woman. And during her childhood, during her teenage years, people didn't really see the genius that she was because they were limited by their view of what it meant to be blind. And so I feel that understanding her ability to communicate despite all the obstacles she faced, her persistence. She helped found the ACLU. And I don't know how many people know that, right? That someone who initially was defined as being so limited was really able to open up opportunities for herself and for so many more people, even after she passed away.
That's lovely. On the subject